Great. We'll wait one more minute. Did you say we had about 50 people joining us, Paula? Was that right?
50 registered, and we have 23 in the room.
Great.
I suppose with lunchtime finishing. Yeah, we're probably good to go.
Yeah, why don't we just make a start?
Sure.
So, kia ora koutou. Ko Kate Taku Ingoa. I am the chair of the Hikuwai Committee, which, as you all know, is the regional committee from LIANZA for Auckland right up to Cape Reinga. So quite a diverse group with lots of different library backgrounds. So really great to see lots of you here today. And we are delighted to be welcoming Paula Eskett, who is actually, what is your official job title, Paula?
We might just say apprentice today. Professional Development and Events Lead for LIANZA.
Great. Who, as you all know, is going to be talking to us about the LIANZA CPD pathway. Very excited to get this session underway. So we are going to start with a karakia. And then we'll just move into some housekeeping and then just get going. So I will just run the karakia. So e te hui, whaia te mātauranga kia marama, kia whai take ngā mahi katoa, tū maia, tū kaha, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātau ia tātou katoa. So welcome again, and just to introduce my fellow committee member, that's Adrian. Adrian, would you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Kia ora koutou. I am fairly new to the Hikuwai Committee. I just joined this year. I come from the tertiary library sector in Auckland, working at Unitec.
So just in terms of housekeeping, Adrian and I will be keeping an eye on the chat. If you have questions, please, we encourage you to pop them into the chat and we will get time to look at those. And what other housekeeping was there, Paula? Was there anything I've forgotten?
No, I think we've hit the board. I forgot to put the karakia words into chat, so apologies for that. No, just fire questions throughout into the chat so we can keep the timing of your questions relevant as much as possible, or we'll have time at the end, I hope, too. As long as the
We also have a few pre-submitted questions that we will ask Paula as we have time.
Excellent. Over to you, Paula.
Right. Kia ora. Poka tiri o te maunga, ko mata au te awa, ko Burke te hapu, no Aotearoa aho, ko Paula Eskett toka ingoa. So kia ora everybody, I'm Paula Eskett. I'm coming to you live from Christchurch. I'm a Canterbury girl, well and truly, but was shaped by Central Otago. So call the Lindis my mountains and the Clutha River my awa. This is the first LIANZA CPD webinar in my 6 months with LIANZA, and I'm hoping that over the next 45-50 minutes with each other, we will grow your understanding of what CPD is and where it connects with you personally and professionally, and answer some questions. Before I get started, I just want to do a wee shout out to Vic, who is on our webinar. She is LIANZA's new comms lead. Vic, I don't know if you want to give a wave or put your camera on.
My camera's on. I'm not sure where I'm in the list, but kia ora.
Okay.
Nice to meet you all.
So Vic started on Monday, and she comes from... you could introduce yourself, Vic. Actually, go for it.
I'm not going to take up too much time. Kia ora, my name is Vic. I have joined LIANZA to support with communications and engagement. So I'm very excited to get to meet you all. And as my predecessor, Angie, probably said, if you have any story ideas, anything that is relevant for our community to know, please come my way. It's still the same email address. And I worked previously at Waka Kotahi, so I come from an environment that is very different to libraries, but before that worked at Tauranga City Council here in the Bay of Plenty. So I'm familiar with some of the work that librarians do in the public space. So I'm really excited to get my head around everything, and that's why I'm joining some of these meetings, because that will give me a really good understanding of what we do and what you guys do too. Kia ora.
Thanks, Vic. Now, just as I'm starting, I was planning on using some polls and some of the breakout functions, but just a bit worried about the tech. So what I'd love you to do is drop into the chat what sort of library you're working in at the moment. So, you know, either the public, community, special, health, law, tertiary, just drop into the chat so that I can get an idea and LIANZA can get an idea of where you're coming from and then how we can structure PD going forward. So yeah, that's just to get started. Right, hopefully everyone can see my screen, and this is a snapshot of what I'm hoping we're going to cover today. There's a lot of content, but I'm hoping to give you just enough to understand how the CPD framework works, how CPD and the Te Tautura framework work together quite holistically to support your professional development, your professional curiosity, and to help achieve professional recognition and eventually through Cert LIANZA. Now, some of those words might not mean much at the moment, but my goal is to have them mean something by the end of this hour. I am very mindful that we only have this hour and that a part 2 webinar may be needed to dig a little deeper into some of these areas. So if you think you're wanting that, please let me know either in the chat towards the end or email me. This came around from an idea from Hikuwai for Hikuwai members, and that's what LIANZA is all about. The LIANZA office is here to support you people at the front line, and we're trying at the back end to give you what you need to do your jobs. I'm also approaching professional development not with a cookie cutter approach, that it's much more holistic and that we serve so many different people in so many different ways that gone are the days where there are a few set approaches and learnings to be a librarian. Now we can be full of curiosity because our communities are, and that's what the sort of PD we're trying to provide to support you as well. As Kate said, please pop your questions into the chat as they come up, and Kate and Adrian will feed them to me throughout the presentation. Now, for ease of understanding and some consistency today, during this webinar, if I refer to any person who works in a library, in a community hub, a place formerly with a library in its name, I'll be calling these people librarians. I recognise that as a profession, we have created a huge number of job names and job titles to describe the mahi we do. But I don't want anyone who's here to feel that because I've not mentioned their job title, that this webinar and its content is not applicable to them. Your job title and your position description does not limit your access to or the relevance of the CPD pathway. It's a professional pathway open to everyone in our sector. So I'm often asked, what's the difference between professional registration and CPD? And to be perfectly honest, that's a massive, that's a webinar almost on its own. In a nutshell, it's decided on by if you have an applicable graduate qualification or not. I'll say that again. It's decided on by if you have an applicable graduate qualification or not. Professional registration requires one of the recognised qualifications on a list. CPD does not. Now, I want to give you a short potted history to help you understand better why CPD came about, and that might make that first sentence, that first bit I've talked about, have a bit more relevance. Please remember to put questions in the chat as they're coming up if what I'm saying is not joining the dots. The provisional registration scheme was introduced by LIANZA around 2007 in order to increase the standing of the library and information profession in New Zealand. It was there to recognise professional excellence and continuing professional development, and to provide a mechanism by which employers could coach and develop their professional staff. The scheme also provided an assurance for future employers, both in New Zealand and overseas, that the registrar met professional standards of competency in the bodies of knowledge, known also as BOCs, and ethics required for library and information work. There are 3 possible entry points into the professional registration scheme, depending on the graduate qualification you hold. Now, over the years, since 2007, with the changing roles of libraries and librarians, the need to have a formally recognised graduate qualification in order to get a professional acknowledgement of your commitment to professional development became increasingly discussed and debated, and an idea for an alternate professional acknowledgement was born. Funding from the New Zealand Libraries Partnership Programs has significantly progressed cross-sector thinking on this. The development of the CPD pathway was informed by a variety of things. A professional development survey around 2024, insights from think tank discussions, cross-sector workshops, including library adjacent careers and organisations, and input from the Professional Registration Board. People were asked, should LIANZA recognise professional qualifications beyond formal qualifications and registration? And would you be interested in CPD pathways that recognised different forms of learning? You'll see from the first slide that 71% of respondents said that LIANZA should recognise professional development beyond formal qualifications and registration, and 78% said they'd be interested in CPD pathways that recognised different forms of learning. Now, it's worth saying at this point that many of the people who were answering that survey were themselves professionally registered. So they saw the need for an alternate pathway for their staff, for their colleagues, or looking on reflection. We also asked, what are the main benefits you see in being professionally registered? The main benefits were fairly well spread, including a commitment to ongoing learning. When people were asked, do you feel there is a clear career pathway for you in the sector? It was a big no for many people. I'd like to change views now and take you into the LIANZA website to talk a bit more about what is CPD and who is it for. So what I'm going to do is change screens, and hopefully you are still going. Kate and Adrian, can you let me know if this is visible? Can you see the member pathway?
Not yet.
No.
I'm still seeing the slide.
Okie dokie. We will try this. How about now?
Yep.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Now we can see it.
So I'm really mindful that a presenter whizzing through a website can be a not a very productive learning experience. So I want to layer where you can find more information to back up what you're learning now, or to extend your learning. So this is LIANZA homepage. We'll go back to the LIANZA homepage. Now, under the Members tab, Member CPD Pathway. This is the page that's been set up to give you a baseline understanding of what LIANZA's continuing professional development pathway is. In a nutshell, over 20 hours a year over 3 years will give you a Cert LIANZA professional recognition, and you're able to use the CPD pathway as a revalidation option if you're resubmitting for professional registration. I want to just rewind back a bit and drop down to this graph. So 20 hours of CPD in the first year. Hypothetically, you're starting on the 1st of July, 2026. Over the 12-month period to the 1st of July, 2027, you need to submit 20 hours worth, a minimum of 20 hours worth of professional development. After 3 years of, and by doing that first 20 hours, you'll get a certificate of professional development. Over 3 years, you get a certificate of continuing professional development. At that point, you can use that certificate to submit with a letter from your employer, a letter of endorsement from your employer, and a self-assessment statement to get the recognition Cert LIANZA, 3 years. It's the same mapping as professional registration, 3 years for professional registration, 3 years for Cert LIANZA. The difference for Cert LIANZA is you don't need a graduate qualification in order to start this process. You're also, as I mentioned earlier, able to, when you're revalidating your professional registration, you're able to use your logbook, your digital logbook that you get as part of starting your continuing professional development as your journal for your LIANZA revalidation. We just scroll down this page a little bit. These are the gold. So this is the gold section if you're new to CPD. All of these questions have a drop-down box with a lot of information. So last week I was emailed from a new member asking, what can I do for a professional development activity? I'm going to cover that a bit more later, but here in your logbook, capture any professional development that is related to the library and information sector. And we list the LIANZA events, conferences, self-study, professional reading, peer development, all sorts of things all the way through. It talks about the logbook, which I'll go into in a few minutes. Talks about how you log each activity. So this is a question that comes up quite a lot. If I do a webinar, we have a lot of LIANZA webinars that qualify as a CPD point with a learning reflection. How many points do I assign to a webinar? So the basic rule is 1 hour of time spent actively learning equals 1 point. But there's more information for you to refer back to. Another question, how do I demonstrate a balance of professional development in my logbook? Here it introduces the Te Tautura framework. So I'm aware there's a lot of different terms and headings I'm throwing at you at the moment, so we'll cover more about Te Tautura later. One thing that people do want to know is when they submit a learning reflection for a CPD activity they've attended, is it audited? And at the moment, 100% of the learning reflections are audited by me. In time, it will drop down to a percentage, a random picking of different logbook entries. But at the moment, to ensure rigour and to ensure that we are not having a two-tier system with professional registration and CPD, every CPD logbook entry is being audited, and if it's not at the standard that's required, I'm coaching people through the next steps, giving them tips on what they need to increase the strength of their learning reflection. We have some resources that I share, and those resources will also be going onto the website. So now that we have got Vic, we'll be able to be creating some communications around the different resources you can use and the different ways in which to submit your learning reflections. I'll go back down to the table. There's more information around the certificates, around applying for certificates, criteria. This is the big one I get asked quite a lot. Do I do professional registration? Do I do CPD? Now, if you don't have one of the recognised graduate qualifications, CPD is more or less your best option. There is a Route C with professional registration, but if you don't have a graduate qualification, it is CPD is the most straightforward way to approach it. After 60 hours, as I mentioned earlier, 60 hours of continuous learning from a variety of types of knowledge, then you get your certificate and then you apply for the Cert LIANZA recognition. That's quite a lot to process, I'm aware, but I just want to again point you to where you can find that on the LIANZA website. It's not in the members only login. It's just sitting there. So homepage, members ribbon, drop down to the member CPD pathway. The introduction to LIANZA CPD pathway webinar is, I think from memory, about 47-50 minutes. So if you were to, say, for example, to watch that, you're actively learning about something new, you're taking some notes, that would qualify as submitting a learning reflection on your experience, your learning, your thoughts, and how you're going to use that information. That would qualify as a CPD entry, and I'll show you how to submit that soon. Now, I'm just going to go back to my presentation. And I will go back here, stop sharing. Okay, and Adrian, is this visible? The slides again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just coming now. Yes, we're back.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to just fast forward a little bit to what counts as CPD, because this is a question that comes up quite a lot. I know I covered it a little bit before. If it's something that contributes to your knowledge, your skills, or your practice as a library and information professional, it's likely that it counts as CPD. If in doubt, just flick me an email. It's, like I said before, it's not very cookie cutter, it's very open, and it does allow for professional curiosity. Now, one thing that we've been not great at promoting is that when you contribute to LIANZA, like Kate and Adrian are on the Hikuwai Committee, organising this webinar and then reflecting on what you did, what you learnt, what you do differently next time, that counts towards your professional development. So here on this the slide, you've got professional contribution. So if you've presented at a LIANZA conference, if you're presenting a LIANZA webinar, if you're helping set a webinar up, if you're writing for LIANZA Library Life, you're on a SIG, a special interest group, or a regional committee, you're peer reviewing somebody's work, you're on an awards judging committee. All of those things, all of those experiences are contributing to the whole of you as a library and information professional, and you're able to use those towards your points. You can see different things on the slide here, self-directed study, articles, networking opportunities, educational visits, professional conversations. It's not limited to workplace learning, but the learning you're doing at work, if it's not you doing your day job, if it's extending you, growing you, then that can contribute to your professional development portfolio. Now, on LIANZA's website, when you've logged in as a member, I'll be showing you that in a minute, you are able to join regional committees and special interest groups. And I encourage you to do that because you'll get information about what's happening in those, what you could contribute to, but also what you can what you can join to watch. And LIANZA is generating some amazing webinars and professional learning. They're all free if they're all free to join at the moment. And also up there is conference, and it's going to be in Auckland in 2027. So thinking caps on, we plug for perhaps abstracts you might submit for conference. Writing a conference paper and delivering it definitely takes some time, and the points for those submissions definitely reflect that as well. So at this stage, Kate and Adrian, are there any questions that are in the chat that I need to catch up with?
There is a question, but not directly on this topic, about the alternative model for funding in terms of the new enhanced membership model. If you have time to talk about that, that would be great, but it's not completely on topic for today.
So could you just explain the question again?
Yeah, the question was, what about the new enhanced membership model for libraries in terms of being able to get all members of a library team
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the dream scenario. If you're in if you work for an organisation that has adopted the new enhanced membership model, you've basically won lotto as far as LIANZA is concerned. You get access to everything online. Obviously, conferences, it's still paid for. You still have to pay for, but you get your special member rate. Every single person in that organisation gets access to My CPD. You get access to the webinars. It's an incredible opportunity. So yeah, if you're just joining LIANZA because your organisation is part of because your organisation has become an enhanced member, then please reach out if you're not sure what you can do with it. But basically, your email will be given to LIANZA, and you'll get all of our messaging, invites, opportunities to meet regionally, nationally, webinars, and all of those things will be contributing to CPD.
Thanks, Paula. And then I think there was just one other one. I guess it's just, again, regarding that interaction between the professional registration and this new CPD offer. So the question is, if you already have our LIANZA, do you need to revalidate by submitting CPD of 3 years? I can see, sorry, Adrian, you have responded to that, but maybe you could just talk to that once more, because I know that is a question that comes up a lot in my workplace as well.
Sure, it depends. I mean, if your professional registration, if your revalidation is due shortly, probably continue with the box and submitting your journal in time, and that LIANZA hasn't defined the time period yet. The CPD will be the way that people can revalidate their professional registration. I've got a couple of people at the moment who are choosing to do both, absolute keen beans. So they have done their journal the traditional way, but they are also submitting their learning reflections for their for their experiences through the CPD pathway, because they're appreciating the real-time feedback, and it's helping them reinforce their reflections. We don't want one or the other to be seen as better. Hopefully that little bit of history has given people information about the why CPD has come about, and where professional registration came from and why. Now we're at the point where we still have the two schemes, but in a few years, the CPD, your digital logbook as part of CPD, will be used for LIANZA.
Couple of other questions. Someone's asking if they have their journal backdated to 2024, can they upload that into the CPD logbook, or do they have to be from the time you start registering?
12 months so if you were to start on the 1st of July 2026, you can use professional development you've done in the previous 12 months. That's as far back as it goes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Were there any other questions?
I think it's actually a similar question. Can they register there? Can they register now, or can we use our past experience? It looks like it's up to 12 months in the past.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, so let's say you backdated for 12 months, and then over the next 2 years, you could use this CPD system, and then you could use that to revalidate at that, I guess 2 years from now, if you'd backdated by a year. Yep.
One thing that Laura Marshall, LIANZA's Executive Director, is wonderful at thinking around is that this is a new process. It was built coming out of it came out from the New Zealand Libraries Partnership Program, which was a huge cross-sector working group looking at how can we have an alternative pathway. We don't have all the answers because we haven't. We're testing it as we're building it. So if something comes up that we're not entirely sure, CPD, professional registration, where do we sit? The PR board and I and Laura will get together, and we'll make sure that we've got consistency. We test our assumptions. If this, then what? How does that look? And we'll try and find an answer together so that there is consistency, and going forward, we're able to maintain this. So if we don't have an answer, we definitely get together to make sure we can find the best one and then share that with you.
Just a clarification point, Paula, the time from when you register your CPD doesn't have to be July to June, does it? It
No.
can be any time.
No, I would need to confirm if you're joining LIANZA as part of the new enhanced membership model, whether the date of that becomes your calendar year for CPD, or whether the first date you start. So if that's a question, I'll try and find the answer, and I want to send out some links after this webinar, so people can refer back to things I might have mentioned, and I'll find an answer for that just to clarify. Any other questions?
I think you can probably move on to the next bit now.
Okay, great. I'm going to try and share my screen again. I want to... Right, can we see the LIANZA homepage, team?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, I want to take us into the member login section. So everyone who is a member of LIANZA or will be becoming a member of LIANZA from July the 1st as part of the enhanced membership model will have the email they give LIANZA for contact. I'm going to log in and show you what it looks like from the back end. So all I do is put my email address and my first name wait for my details to be accepted. Now, for the point of clunky old Teams, I'm just going to go into my email, and rather than opening all that up, and I'm going to click on a link that says, here's your one-time login for LIANZA portal, click here. Now, one little trick for new players, that link is only live for 15 minutes. Okay, so can everyone see my Welcome to LIANZA membership portal?
Yes, we can.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I could either go into My CPD on the ribbon at the top or My CPD as the box at the bottom. They're both the same. Okay, so I'm going to scroll right to the bottom just for a minute to show you that I'm actually in my personalized digital logbook. And this is the section that's all about me, all about what I've done. And I'll be really honest, most of this has just been created for the purpose of different presentations. Okay, so if you're considering the CPD pathway, this is the place that has heaps and heaps of information. Info on the CPD pathway, this is what's actually on the website. So it's doubled up, but it's reinforcing what's already there. So I'll go back and I'm going to scroll down again. It talks about the points, maximum points per activity. There's another mention of Te Totara, so I'm not going to blur the lines at the moment. I'm going to come down here. I've done this webinar today, and I'm going to hypothetically use this as a CPD logbook entry. What I need to do is I need to fill in a learning reflection. So on my screen, I have got the Continuing Professional Development Learning Reflection form. It's very basic at the moment, and in the next wee while, again, now that we've got Vic, we're going to improve what we say on here to just give a little bit more guidance. But in a nutshell, title or description of the event or the type of learning you've done, the date, and a learning reflection. Now, one of the things that will just change a little bit is this is a maximum of 180 words, and from memory, the professional registration box, the journal entries are 250. So we're going to find a midpoint there. So what you would do is you would download this file and save it to your desktop somewhere. From there, you would, and I'm not going to open that up, you're just going to assume that I've done my learning reflection and I've saved it on my desktop. What I would then do is I would come down to my logbook and I would create a new entry. So I'm pretending that today I've done a webinar and it was 1 hour, so it's worth 1 point. This webinar, librarianship and information sector values and ethics, that is one of the Te Totara categories. So I'm going to click that it fits there. What type of event or learning was it? It wasn't a call, it wasn't an event, an in-person event. It wasn't by myself, it was an other. And this is actually, despite it being quite hidden, this is an amazing insight into the different types of professional development that you can use to get CPD points. So it's a webinar. Now I'm going to attach my learning reflection and I'm going to add it as an activity. Activity successfully added. And Now, when you look at my logbook, I've got a new entry, pending marking. So it was a webinar. I've evaluated that learning experience as worth 1 point, and the category it fits into from the Te Tautura framework is librarianship in the information sector. That's all there is to it for logging CPD. You get real time, you can see in real time that it's gone through. And then if I logged into our learning management system, it'll be sitting there. And every morning I start my working day with marking learning reflections. Are there any questions about that at this stage?
There's no new questions in the chat at this point.
Okay, brilliant. Now I'm just going to highlight this little export box. If I was going into my my performance review or a meeting with a manager, and I wanted to show, look, what I'm doing behind the scenes that might not be visible to them, you can download, you can export a file of your professional learning and share that. It's just it's not incredibly pretty. It's definitely not a beautiful Excel file, but it's a way of getting it off your private digital logbook and getting it visible to people who might be important in your professional world. Also another thing I'm asked, I've had a couple of people ask, can my organisation request to see my logbook? No. And can my organisation, because they pay for my membership, see my logbook? No. Okay, so if that was just, worth sharing. Right, I'm going to go back to my presentation. Sorry, this is incredibly clunky, but it's stop sharing. Share.
Yep, we're back.
We're back, except I don't have my notes, but that's all right. We're right. The Te Tautura framework, actually, I'm just going to go just fast. Can you see reflective writing? That's all good. Okay.
I put a brief link to, sorry, Paul, I put a brief link to the Te Tautura model on the chat already.
Oh, you're an angel. Thank you. Right, reflective writing. This is something that, so as of last week, we had something like 590 learning reflections submitted, and there were 84 learning reflections that are pending. That's a reflection on that I'm not fully up to date, and probably 35 of those I'm coaching people through what's needed to improve and strengthen their learning reflection in order for it to be awarded CPD points. Now, I thought it might be quite nice for people to actually read what what words have come through for learning reflections. And I'll just stop talking for a minute and let you read this screen to understand the difference with reflective writing and reviewing writing. So one of the things that we have noticed is reflective writing, talking about ourselves, talking about our feelings, talking about what we'll do differently, talking about what hasn't worked well. It's often a challenge for us professionally. I will be running some reflective writing workshops in very small groups, so that members can practice writing a learning reflection in a reflective writing style. One of the generalizations I've seen over my time auditing the learning reflections is that depending on what type of education system you went through and what subjects you studied, whether you have to write from the head or from the heart, some people need a little bit more coaching. Some people have got it straight away. I have some videos that with permission to use as part of the CPD program that I will be sharing after the session. And sometimes that's all that's needed is to watch these 7-minute videos that do some gentle coaching around shifting from descriptive writing to reflective writing. Now, Adrian talked about having the Te Tautura framework in the chat. Got that there? You've had that there, Adrian? This one here, the Te Tautura framework. Everyone can.
That's basically what I shared as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so the last big piece of information, when we talk about CPD, we're mapping it. Remember when we went into my digital logbook and I mapped attending today's webinar against a heading which was the ethics and context of the wider library information sector. That, and if you're looking at the picture of the beautiful Te Tautura tree, is under section B. Now, to rewind a bit, the Te Tautura framework was created for the library and information sector by the sector, and it was co-constructed with input from over 100 representatives across Aotearoa's library and information sector, as well as in collaboration with Te Rapa Whakahau, Public Libraries NZ, LIANZA, the Australian Library Information Association, ALIA, and the United Kingdom Library Association, SILIP. So it's definitely got a lot of rigour. As you can see, and as we've mentioned, it's based on an analogy of a Te Tautura tree with roots, the Ngā Paiaka, the roots that contain the kaupapa Māori that underpin much of our work. Then coming from the centre, the te tiwi, that's the trunk that contains the ethics and the context of our work. And then if we look out at the branches, Ngā Ruha, they contain the capability groups that our profession falls into. And then at the top, and I love this bit, Te Rau Hinga, the fallen leaves. So the ideas, the thoughts, the reflections and the evaluations that fall out of what we're doing, what we're practicing and what we're learning. There's another 45-50 minute webinar on the LIANZA YouTube channel around Te Tautura, and again, watching this, reflecting on it and writing a learning reflection is definitely something that you could do for a CPD point. I won't have time to go into it fully today, but what I do want to do, and I'll stop sharing, when you go onto the LIANZA website and you see the Te Tautura heading, the first document that opens up is the massive 80-page Te Tautura workbook. It's overwhelming when you're starting. So what I am encouraging people to do is scroll to the bottom, and there is a small 3-page document that has, actually I'll go into, no, I won't have time. There's a small 3-page document that asks you to map your perceived competencies, how you feel about 30 different types of learning that we do in libraries. And that's a great way to decide whether you're level 1, level up to level 4, and how you feel about different learning activities. It could be understanding Te, it could be digital literacy, it could be records and archive management. And you map your belief on where you think you are, 1 to 4. And when you've done the 1-page document, you'll see where your 1s are and where your 2s are, your areas for growth, but you'll also see where your 4s are. And you can use your 4s to work with your team, with your colleagues, and share that knowledge. And you can look at your 1s and 2s and see that's where I need growth and I need support. And there's a learning calendar on the last page that you can pop those into. They're great, and I've used these with my team previously for their goals, for their performance reviews. So I'll pop that document also in the email that comes out as a starting point for where you might want to hit the hit learning about the Te Totara framework. I'm aware that our time is getting really close. Adrian and Kate, do you want to pose any questions that have come up?
I will, hang on. Sure, sorry about that. Yeah, I'll ask one of them. Let me just go to my notes here. I'm currently studying the Library and Information Diploma. Can I add an individual course as a CPD activity?
Brilliant. Yes, yes, you can. Your learning reflection has to demonstrate, not review what you learnt in your course, but how you think you can apply that. CPD recognises students and that we're all learners and that sometimes we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, but aspirationally, from looking at what a student might be learning, yes, in a nutshell, you can use those. And actually, I had a question this week from somebody asking the same question.
I have a question, which is, what's the minimum amount of time you'd need to spend on a CPD, I guess, event or activity to earn a point? What is
1 hour.
Right, 1 hour.
Yeah,
okay.
1 hour. 1 hour of active learning. So
Per point.
Yeah, per point. There is a cap of 5. So if you attend a conference, say for example a 3-day LIANZA conference, it would be 5, and there would have to be several learning reflections to contribute to that 5 points. You might be presenting, and that could be 3 straight away.
Quick comment on that from, I've recently done my revalidation journal, and being able to reflect on conference is a wonderful way to get an increased number of CPD points.
I don't think we put enough weight on the power of reflecting and giving ourselves time. Yeah, it's really powerful.
One more question. I participated in a project but didn't lead it. Can I still include that in my CPD?
Yes, if you come from the point of view. If it's I statements, it's I learned, it's me, it's not we, it's your learning. So yes.
That's great. And we've already talked about it. It's got to be within the last year. So that point, I think I've answered all my questions. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to the chat for a final question? What I would comment is that if you are an experienced librarian and have already been, if you've been doing the job for some years, please do promote the options to your library assistants and so on, because we want to see everybody growing at the appropriate level for them.
Couldn't agree more. It's probably worth on that topic just reminding people that the LIANZA grants are live at the moment, closing end of June. So if you have a professional development activity that you're wanting to do, a conference, an event, just have a look on the homepage. It's been updated this morning, and there's 4 grants that are available. One of them, if you're geographically isolated as well. And there could be an event, something there that then you can attend and also turn into CPD points.
Perhaps I'll just put in a little plug for the Hikuwai Committee and the different events that we're hoping to hold over the next wee while. If there's anyone out there who would like to get involved, I'd love to hear from you. We can always use an extra pair of hands or many pairs of hands. And that is obviously another CPD option for you. So do get in touch with me.
And also, if you would like, if you're doing something really amazing and innovative in your library, we'd love to hear about it. So it's maybe we could get you to talk to us about what you're doing that is so cool, because we know there's some amazing ideas and practices going on out there.
Okay, well, it looks like we've just got a couple of minutes left. So, Paula, was there anything else that you wanted to cover off before we?
I'd like to
close.
So it would be interesting to know if people would like a small, either perhaps workplace or team meeting for covering CPD. I do apologise for the limitations of doing it via Zoom, via Teams. We realised that LIANZA's Teams is not set up for all the applications that would have made it a bit more interactive. And yeah, we'll use Zoom next time. But yeah, we're really trying to personalise how people can access this and get a foot and feeling comfortable with CPD, and whether that's a small session with some little breakout rooms for chatting, a learning reflection hour, just writing together and checking with each other. All of those things are available. So, you know, put it to your committee, send it to me. We're trying to empower people to have what they need and the tools there to help them as well.
Paula, we have one last question. You talked about sort of guidance on reflective writing. Will that be going online, and if so, roughly when?
As soon as there's an interest, we'll make it live. I have ideas for quite a few things once July the 1st starts, and we've got the enhanced membership model live. So yeah, if writing a learning reflection and reflective writing is top of mind, yep, we can get that going. But feel free to flick me an email. I'll put my email into the chat as well.
Great. Thank you, Paula. Look, I think we'd better wrap up because I've got 1 minute left. Huge thank you to Paula and also to Vic from LIANZA for presenting such an interesting and useful session. I'm sure there'll be lots of follow-up questions and engagement with this after the session. So really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I will just close us off with a karakia. So, unuhia te pō whiri marama, tomokia te ao whatu tangata, tātai ki runga, tātai ki raro, tātai ahorau, haumie, huie, tai ki e. Thanks everyone for joining.
Kia ora.
Bye-bye.